Well, I'm not very intense about these things. I just have a lot of questions for you. So I'm excited to just kind of dig in. Um, and before I have you introduce yourself, I just want you to know that like it was a very important decision for us. We would not be offering a yoga teacher training if you weren't going to be the one to teach it. And so it is a bond that we have with you, a friendship that we have with you, but we also just love what you bring to our community. We love what you bring to your students. Like, we love how you're constantly challenging yourself and looking for new ways to like innovate and add value. And so having this interview with you is really so that other people can see what we see. And like, you know your story and people that are around you know your story, but we want other people to know why we chose you for this collaboration as well. So if you want to start by just telling us like who you are, and I really feel like your credentials and how hard you've worked to kind of decorate yourself academically and stretch yourself professionally is really important for you to brag about a little bit. So just tell us who you are and a little bit about your credentials.
I am Erin Short, and I have been teaching yoga for almost 7 years now. I did my first yoga teacher training here in Lexington at Barefoot Works, back in the old location in the beautiful treehouse. I did my advanced 300-hour yoga teacher training in Asheville at the Asheville Yoga Center. I have continued to take courses and trainings with them ever since because I believe in continuing to educate myself and learn new things and broaden my horizons. I am a Yoga Alliance continuing education provider, which just means that I can provide continuing education credits to other yoga teachers. I am Reiki 1 certified through Soul Fitness, Soul Academy, and I am a trauma-informed mindfulness facilitator. Outside of yoga, I also have a business called Sage and Strand, which is meditation beads and intention jewelry. You might see Sunny and stuff and people around the gym wearing them sometimes, or see them at the gym. But it started with these traditional, they're called malas, and it's a Sanskrit word, a yogic word, that is meditation. And so they're used to help facilitate your meditation practice. And I just kind of felt called to keep making more and more, and people kept wanting more and more malas from me. So it turned into this whole lovely business that gets to coincide lovely with my yoga teaching. As far as teaching yoga, I offer group classes, various studios around town. I offer workshops and retreats, both locally and in fun, exotic locations sometimes. Grew up here in Central Kentucky. I spent some time in Texas for college and afterward. And I'm back in Lexington. I live with my angel kitty cat, Sage. And I love to read and be around friends who make me laugh and feel lovely and happy and seen. I like to try all the new places like restaurants and bars and activities in Lexington and know what's going on so I can give the best advice to my friends and clients. Very good at the advice. Can tell you where to have the best meal and what to order and what not to order. And I like to be outside in small amounts, and then I like to go back inside.
Okay, so what led you to pursue yoga? Tell me about the gap between those two things.
When I first started really regularly taking yoga classes, I was still in Texas, and it was at my gym, and I didn't know of it as anything other than like an exercise class, right? And to be honest, I actually didn't even love it. Probably because it was just that. It was just like an exercise class at the gym. And when I moved back to Kentucky, I found a teacher in Lexington that made me fall in love with yoga because she offered more than just the fitness part. And it became like a safe place for my mind and a safe place to be in my body and let go of the rest of the world and feel complete and whole as myself. So falling in love with yoga in that way led me to take more workshops, take more classes, try different studios, take in as much as I could. And honestly, the becoming a teacher part kind of happened. I went to a yoga retreat in Big Sur, California one year and loved it so much that I just thought, you know what, I would like to learn so much more that I think maybe I'll take a yoga teacher training. And I wasn't even sure that I would teach at that point. But after the first day of my first yoga teacher training, I remember I was driving home and I called a friend and I said, I found it. I figured it out. Like, I know what I want to do. I know what I want to be when I grow up. And I was, 32 years old at this point. And I felt so excited that I finally figured it out. And I was right. Yeah, so here we are. Sorry, I cried a little on that one. It was a really big day for me.
There's so many people that are searching for that. They're searching for their purpose. And so I
Yeah.
you being emotional makes me emotional. When people hear yoga teacher training,
Yeah.
maybe they're not sure that they want to be a yoga teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Are there other reasons that people come to yoga teacher training besides just to teach yoga?
Absolutely. And honestly, of the people in my first yoga teacher training, of 12 of us, I think I'm the only one teaching yoga, at least on a regular basis. And people come to deepen their practice, whether that is understanding the knowledge of the physical poses and their body better, or it could be wanting to have an exploration into the other parts of yoga, which are many, including meditation and using breath to help you throughout your daily life, or the historical and philosophical aspects.
Yeah, I've had someone talk to me recently about going through yoga teacher training, like you said, to deepen their own practice because they wanted to develop a strong home practice. Is that something that you do? Talk to us about your own personal yoga practice.
Having a home yoga practice is helpful for me as a teacher, in that it can help me to be creative, and it inspires me to have new sequences or transitions or ideas for a class. But even if I weren't a teacher, having a home practice would be a safe place in your own home where you can step on a mat and ideally connect to your body and your breath in a way that lets you kind of release the rest of the world for that. It doesn't even have to be an hour. It might be 10 minutes. 10 minutes is still beneficial to connect with yourself. And then when you step off the mat, you can be ready to do the rest of your day or go to sleep or whatever it is that needs to happen.
Yeah. And I would imagine too, I love yoga. After a yoga class, like, you just feel like a different person, it's just like you're like, oh, that's what I was missing, so it's like people that have really connected to yoga maybe already have a strong personal practice. They see their next logical step as teaching others or inviting them into the practice. So before we really get into that, like, I want to hear from you just kind of what it is about teaching that just lights you on fire. Like, obviously you do it all the time. You do it really well. You do it in so many different capacities. You teach so many different types of classes. So what is it about teaching yoga that just like sets your soul on fire?
There are so many parts of teaching yoga that I love. One is getting to be a part of the best part of people's day. Sometimes people come in after a hard day and they're not in the best mood before class, and they're always so thankful and grateful and happier after class. And even if they come in having a good day, I still get to be a part of the best part of it. I love to see people's progress and yoga journey. And I don't want to call it improvement, because my philosophy is that if you are on your mat and connecting to your body and doing your best, that's perfect. That is exactly what yoga is meant to be. But I get to see people's progress, and that could be starting yoga class as an exercise class, and then realizing that it affects them in more ways. It affects their mind and it affects their emotional health, and watching people turn into these kind of calmer, more collected, more confident people just from taking yoga classes. I love that. I also get to see people get physically stronger. I mean, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. I've seen it all. It's beautiful to watch. And I think the best part is when people come and tell me how their progress has changed their lives, or yoga has changed their lives. And if they're having the conversation with me, it's usually yoga with me has changed their life. I don't want to sound like I'm bragging, but if they're telling me about it, that's usually why. But it's just a beautiful journey to see and a huge honor to be a part of. It's really special.
It's very special. Do you consider it a calling?
I think for me it is. I feel pretty strongly that this is what I'm meant to be doing. I think people can still have a lot to offer, even if it is not necessarily a calling for them.
What about for you, though? Yeah.
For me, I think it is. I think it's what I'm meant to be doing and how I'm meant to be spending my time. And it's equal parts a way for me to help others, create a life that I am happy with, that I adore, and also gives me freedom in my life to do things that I like and love, like travel and teach yoga, or travel and lead yoga retreats, or travel and attend someone else's yoga retreat.
To mix all of your favorite things into one. It's like the dream.
It's the dream. Yeah, it's the dream. Totally.
So if someone is inspired by that, may too want to live the dream, what advice do you have for them when choosing a yoga teacher training for themselves?
Choosing a yoga teacher training, the right one, I think is very important. And right now in our post-COVID world, there are a lot of online offerings, or even part online, part in person. And I personally don't think that's right for anyone. I'll be really blunt about that. Yoga is so magical that learning about it and learning to teach it, in my opinion, requires a one-on-one connection and a group connection, an in-person connection. And then, of course, when you think of the physical part, you're learning poses and working with the body. It's so hard to do that at home on your computer in an office by yourself. It's not practical. So for those two reasons, one's the logistics, the practicality of learning about the body, and then also missing that connected magic of being with other people. I think choosing in-person training is really important. And then even from then, there's trainings to choose from, right? I think a connection to the leaders and the trainers is important. And that could also be a connection to the place where it's being offered. And it doesn't have to mean you have this long relationship. I had never taken a class at Barefoot Works Yoga before I did my yoga teacher training. But I attended an informational session and it felt right. It clicked. So I think it can be as simple as meeting someone once or reading what their goals and their philosophies are. And if it aligns with you, you'll know. And if it doesn't, you'll know. Just kind of an intuition thing, following your gut.
Well, and being able to follow your gut and being able to tap into your intuition is a really important part of being a yoga teacher,
Yes.
and being able to energetically connect with the students that are in your class.
That's true.
Yes.
That's true. Learning to follow your intuition. You'll learn that in yoga teacher training. I know I did.
So, you are Erin Short. You, like we've talked about, you have all of these certifications. You've experienced so many other different types of yoga training that's out there. So now you're at a point where you are passing on your knowledge to other yoga teachers, and who will then pass on that knowledge to more and more. So like you're creating this ripple effect in the community and beyond, which is such an exciting role to have. So talk to me about some of the things that you infuse into your yoga teacher training, knowing that that information is something that people will ripple out into the community and beyond.
I like to infuse authenticity into my yoga teacher trainings. I find that there can be yoga teachers out there who maybe don't honor themselves or honor the lineage of the practice as much as they could. And I like to instill a lot of honor of self in the practice into teachers. And that can include being honest about what your strengths and weaknesses are, being honest as a teacher about what you do know and what you don't know. I'm not afraid to say that I don't know the answer to something. Yoga is 5,000 years old. Of course, I don't know everything. No one does. No one can. And the beauty of yoga is that there's always more to learn. So I like to infuse, to help the teachers I train become the most authentic versions of themselves. And that's what will serve them the best as teachers, no matter what style or practice of yoga they choose to teach. If they are themselves, their students will connect with. I like to help my teachers become creative and offer things that are maybe unique to them, but certainly aligned with themselves, versus trying to fit into a mold that, well, this studio is like this, or that gym wants this, so I'll change myself to be that. I want the teachers that I train to feel confident in themselves as themselves, and what they're offering someone will need, and help them understand they can find their audience in that way.
That's really cool. That's really beautiful. What would you like to see more of in our local yoga community? You're infusing you're infusing authenticity, really challenging people to tap into a more authentic, more creative version of self, kind of unleash a part of them that sets them apart, draws in a new crowd, draws more people and awareness to the yoga practice. And in order to do that, we need lots of different people with lots of different styles, not carbon copies of one another.
For sure.
And so in our local Lexington yoga community, I think it's grown so much over the years. But your vision and your hope for our local yoga community, what do you see?
For our local Lexington yoga community, I always want to see more and more diversity, of course. Teachers from all different walks of life with different experiences will have different versions of yoga to offer to people. And that's the thing about teaching yoga is not everyone is for everyone. So the more diverse teachers we can have and the more different types of yoga that can be offered, the more people can be reached. So I always want to see more diversity in yoga teachers. And personally, I would like to see kind of more connection of this physical aspect of yoga and the spiritual aspect of yoga. It's really easy to find one or the other, I feel like, but sometimes it can be more challenging to find this offering of both, where you get the physical aspects, the poses, the asanas that we'll learn in yoga teacher training, along with certain amounts of philosophy or energetics, mindfulness woven into it. And you could go and find just the meditation, you can go and just find the power yoga. But I would love to see that combination of both together, in which, I'll be honest, I'm always trying to challenge myself to offer more as a teacher. It can be easy to fall into one or the other, but I think connecting the two will help Lexington fall in love with more of what yoga truly is, rather than thinking, oh, it's just stretching, or oh, it's just doing crazy pretzel poses that I could never do, or oh, it's just this spiritual thing that's not for me. It's all of it and none of it and so much more and everything all at once, and it's for everyone. Yoga's for everyone.
Yeah, I heard somebody talking the other day about how like people that buy like $100 yoga pants and are like grabbing their mat and running into class and then running out of class to go to the next thing, like you're missing the whole point. You're missing the whole point. And so like the debate of Western yoga versus Eastern yoga. And I think our local Lexington yoga community, it is fairly small. I mean, it's growing, and more popularity as far as like using yoga for exercise, or in those ways, or like you're saying on the other side of it, more of like a mindfulness practice. And so I think you're a really key player in helping it to grow in our community. And so for our yoga teacher training at Soul Academy, we're layering in some business fundamentals, and we're layering in some strength training. And so tell us a little bit about why it's important for you to teach a yoga teacher training that has those elements in it as well.
Yoga teacher training should, in my opinion, cover all these aspects of becoming a teacher. And I think it's really common for things like the business of teaching yoga to get left out. Some yoga teachers, it's just not their forte. So it doesn't even maybe cross their minds to offer it. So the fact that Soul is offering it is going to be great. It means that you'll be equipped not just to lead a class, but to create that class and make it happen. Whether that means finding a job at an existing yoga studio, whether it means opening your own yoga studio, whether it means forgoing that studio route and offering yoga in more creative, out-of-the-box ways, perhaps to reach populations that are underserved. So we'll talk about different places that you can teach, different groups that you can teach, different ways to offer it. And then the really, really exciting things like insurance and legal and waivers and things that aren't sexy but are completely necessary when you're teaching yoga. And we'll offer, Sunny and I will offer the strengths training aspect to yoga. When you're talking about physical movements, it all goes together and everything layers, and everything yoga, strength training, combining them just makes you more well-rounded as a teacher. The more you know, the more you can offer. Also, yoga sculpt classes are really popular these days. So you would be ready to teach those right off the bat.
What do you think the main thing yoga has taught you yourself?
I think yoga has taught me to trust myself and to trust my intuition. I've always been fairly self-confident, and I think that has helped me be successful as a teacher. But I was also very good at second guessing myself. And of course, I still am, but I'm much better at slowing down and connecting to my body and listening to those whispers of my consciousness telling me what's right for me and what isn't. And I don't think that I could have done that without a yoga practice that taught me to be still and connect to my body and my spirit and my mind.
What has yoga taught you about humanity at large?
It's gonna make me cry. I think yoga has taught me about humanity that people, for the most part, are inherently good and want good things for each other. And I think that it's easy to look at our world or watch the news and think the opposite of that. But I see it every day as a yoga teacher when people come in and take class and they look out for each other, and I see friendships formed in the lobby and I see connections made, and I am reminded that people are good and they're doing their best and they want what's best for each other. And I truly think that the more people who do yoga, the better the world will be.
What would qualify someone to be a part of a yoga teacher training?
As far as who is qualified to do yoga teacher training, certainly an interest in yoga is key. But that could be a new or a years-long interest. Having experience taking yoga classes and pre-existing knowledge of poses will only assist you in your training journey, but we're teaching it all from scratch. So if you are brand new to yoga and feel this passionate calling to attend yoga teacher training, but have only been doing yoga, say, a couple of weeks, you can still come because we'll teach you everything. And our yoga teacher training is 6 months long. So there is plenty of time to keep growing your personal practice as we go through our teacher training journey together. So if you want to learn more about yoga to deepen your personal practice, if you want to teach yoga, if you want to immerse yourself in yoga, it is for you. I would encourage anyone who is interested in enough to watch this video. If you're watching this video, there's something inside of you that said, I'm curious about this. I wonder if this is for me. And would invite you to think a little bit more deeply and to not let fear be a factor in the equation. Because Sunny and I are going to offer a very inclusive and welcoming environment. We'll start with the basics, and you'll learn more even than just yoga. You'll learn kind of how to exist in your body in the world with more ease. It's just a natural byproduct of learning more about yoga. How to connect with your body, how to slow down your mind, and all these tools you'll naturally use in your everyday life. And even if you never taught a single yoga class, you would still be so grateful for your yoga teacher training because of who you become during the journey.
You recently went through your Reiki level 1 certification with us at Soul, and I walked in that next day and I said, how do you feel? And you were like, I feel amazing. And I could feel the energy radiating off of you. And so I would love to hear from you, Erin, why you chose to pursue a Reiki certification, number one. Number two is, how has that influenced your yoga practice?
I did do my Reiki training with Soul, and it was a wonderful weekend. I chose to attend that training. It had been kind of in the back of my mind for a while, and something that I was curious about, and I was waiting for the right moment of alignment, if you will, waiting for that intuitive feeling that says this is the right time and place to explore Reiki. And when Soul and Denise offered it, I got that ding of intuition that I've learned to listen to through my yoga practice and training. And I was glad I followed it because it was right. How it affects my yoga teaching, it's still something I'm playing around with since it's so new, and hopefully continuing my Reiki training will help me kind of finalize how that will work. But essentially, I just want what's best for all of my students all the time. And so sometimes when I'm in the room and we have these moments of stillness, I can kind of offer up this good energy or this safe energy or loving energy or whatever it is that feel the room or the space or even a specific person needs, and just kind of send them my love in that way and hope that it helps them.
Can you tell that it's made a difference since you got your certification?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can.
Yeah. That's so cool. That's so cool. So what is something that even if someone had years of experience practicing yoga and they wanted to go through the yoga teacher training, what are some things that they'll learn in yoga teacher training that they wouldn't learn just through a regular practice?
That's a really great question. So yoga is a very personal practice. It's an individual practice, right? Even if you go to a group class, you get on your own mat and you're encouraged to tune into yourself and drop into your body and your breath and move in ways that are right for you. And that's a beautiful thing about yoga. But what the teacher training offers is a more group, like community aspect, if you will, to yoga. So you'll be in this group for 6 months, learning and growing and moving and experiencing new things together. And then you'll get to talk about them and share your experiences and hear about others and learn from other points of views in ways that just moving or breathing or meditating on yourself you'll never get. So for me, it's like it unlocks this door to a whole new yoga experience because you get to listen and hear and understand other people's viewpoints and what their experience has been.
Can you share with me your favorite breathwork practice?
My favorite breathwork practice. I tend to favor. I have two favorites actually. I tend to favor a harmonizing breath, both for myself and for leading group practices, because it can be helpful whether you're trying to calm down your energy or ramp it up. So when we breathe in this harmonizing way, it can kind of work for the whole. And my other favorite is what's called a lion's breath. Because you get to be kind of silly while you do it. And silliness is almost always good for a person. So it's joyful and it's kind of silly, but it's also this big release. And what the breath is, I guess I'll do it for you since I brought it up. It's a deep breath in, and then you smile and stick out your tongue, And it's like you breathe out and kind of roar your head like a lion roaring. And everyone feels really silly the first time they do it, and the second time they do it, they get a little more into it, and by a third round, everyone is just going all out. And it doesn't matter who's in the room with them, and they get to be like a child and be joyful and also release all the energy and tension at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Lion's breath.
And that
a cat, imagine that.
And it bonds people in such a unique way to be vulnerable and childlike together and to let down your guard, and to just mutually agree energetically that we're all going to do this together. We're not going to judge each other, and we're all going to be here together, and like we're in this moment having a good time. And we all leave. It's almost like a little secret in the back of your mind that like now we're all bonded in this unique way. And you get to facilitate that as a yoga teacher. So kind of going back to the very beginning of this, when you said that such an important part of it for you and why you love being a yoga teacher is to be able to be the best part of someone's day. And so you have the honor of leading people through such a rare and special moment. So kudos to you.
It's exactly that. It's an honor.
Yeah.
And it's a fun honor.